Hello, it's Bryan and Grace here from Coherent, and we'd like to show you some new features that just came out around testbed creation. And what these new features allow you to do is more quickly create test cases and read test case results for scenarios where you have ranged X inputs or X outputs, meaning a table of Excel cells that have been tagged as X inputs. So for example, right here on this workbook, this is a sample property rater. You can see X input underscore locations, which has captured that whole table of locations. There's also an X output called premium locations in here. Let's take a look. There it is. And a question for some time with Coherent has been, how do you build good test cases for these scenarios? And this new feature set really tackles that and lets you build out test beds for the most demanding Excel models out there. And where this starts is in Coherent, you can download a template for your test bed. So you remember on this UI here where it says download an Excel template to get started. When you pull that up, the way it looks, the way a template looks, Grace, if you want to pull that up real quick, you see there in cell K8, the existing JSON array hash, the existing JSON data structure. So what we're going to do is just delete that right now. And we're going to replace that JSON data structure instead implicitly with those tabs at the bottom called X input underscore locations and X input underscore claims history. So Grace, you want to kind of take it from here and show everybody how the rest of this works?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Bryan. So yeah, I already have a completed test bed here, but these extra input tabs are automatically generated as part of the template download. But in your main test bed template sheet here, this is set up the same way that you're used to, where each row is a different test case, and then across the columns are my inputs. I already have my single-celled inputs already populated here. I had left the input arrays as blank, and that's because I want to use these separate input array tabs to create my test cases in an array format. So I've got my 100 test cases in this main tab, and then I'm going to use this this individual locations tab here to input my arrays or my input arrays for the location. So each of the test cases are on the left, and you could see for test case 1, I have 4 locations. So each row for that test case corresponds to a row in that input array. And then similarly for test case 2, I have 5 locations. So you're setting up these inputs in a regular input, or you're setting up these inputs in a regular Excel format in an array structure. So this setup does make it a lot easier to populate. It's in regular Excel format, easier to read, and then you can maintain them if you don't want to deal with the JSON strings. So yeah, now we could, you would then upload and run your test bed as normally. And then there are some additional enhancements when we are downloading that results file. So if I hit download, so now there's some more customizable features on how you want your download to look like or what to include. So we do have this option to select how many records we want to download. We can choose this new download format, which is this Excel expanded table. So meaning if you have any inputs or outputs that are tagged as arrays, then you can see that input and the output in a separate tab in a table format rather than in that previous JSON way. And then you can select whether you want to include those inputs in the download. You can select how you want your headers to be ordered, whether it's data order or alphabetical. And then you could also select which outputs to include or exclude. So this new enhancement is not only helpful for, readability of your download file, but you can also manage the data size of that file more easily, especially if you're working with large data sets. So let me show you what a download would look like with the expanded table. So I have my usual test results tab here, something that looks very familiar to you. There's the JSON string views of these, but then also this download would include the expanded tables in that Excel array format. So here for my test case number 1, I had my 4 locations and I have all the outputs for those 4 locations across for each test case. So overall, these enhancements make it easier to generate test case scenarios, and you could easily manage those input and those output arrays in Excel. And you could also download just the pieces that you care about in a clean, usable format.
Yeah, we're really excited about this feature. We think it's an elegant treatment of building test beds for, like I said, the hardest models out there. Anything else we want to talk about, Grace?
Yep, I just wanted to quickly show one additional enhancement. It's regarding the systematic test case generation. So now this enhancement lets you combine aspects of both randomized and systematic testing. So within each input, you could actually now select this random list. And this way you could select how many of these random options within this input that you would like as part of your systematically generated test bed. So this does give you some additional flexibility to vary your scenarios without having to manually list every combination.
Awesome. All right. Well, as always, feel free to give us a call if you'd like our help to coach you through building some of your test beds and getting the most use out of these features. Thanks very much.
Thank you.